And we decided to put together this project to try to capture the memories of people who lived through the last generation of Liverpool as a traditional seaport in the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s, before the great changes in containerization and air travel did away with traditional seaports. In the first half of the 20th century, Liverpool was still a very traditional seaport. It was still handling a huge range of international cargoes. It required tens of thousands of dock workers to handle these goods manually. And it was also a major passenger port for people leaving Europe to go to the Americas. But in the 1950s and 60s, all of that began to change. This was really the last generation in which the traditional seaport could operate. Liverpool began to lose its trade to East Coast ports that were dealing with continental Europe. And then we got, in the late 60s and into the 70s, the container revolution and air travel. So within a generation, Liverpool went from being a traditional maritime seaport city to being a city that in many ways had lost its traditional purpose.
We're interviewing a whole range of people, capturing their memories through video and oral history, working with an organisation called Redoc. And the way we've approached that is through running workshop, sort of a workshop approach. So people are coming along and they're actually doing a physical mapping exercise as these memories are being recorded, hence the mapping memory. So the memories that we're capturing are very intrinsically linked with the geographical space that we're looking at as part of the research subject. So they're triggering each other's memories. So on one level it's individual memory, but on another level, which is quite important in terms of collecting, is that collective memory.
What we're doing with the information we're collecting is to produce a number of different outputs. So we'll have two academic articles, one on the urban history of the city's waterfront, and one on the way that we build this into a museum studies agenda for the future. We're also constructing a project website that will be hosted by National Museums Liverpool. That will include audio and video clips from the interviews we've been doing with people. It'll include archive still photography as well, and we'll be embedding all of that imagery and audio and video onto a base map of the waterfront.
What's really important for the Maritime Museum, especially as a national museum, is that everything we do in terms of the public output should really be underpinned by the absolutely best knowledge available. In order for us to achieve that, really, it is really important for us to work with academic colleagues, because we haven't got the capacity, the resource to be able to achieve everything we'd want to achieve, and in terms of that cutting edge research and knowledge. So it's really critical that we do that. And this particular project is actually resulting in some very new and quite exciting, what we call contemporary collecting. So it's producing a whole wealth of material through the video and the oral histories, which we will incorporate into our permanent collections. So capturing sort of those memories has been, it really fills gaps. It brings sort of history down to a real sort of micro level, which you just wouldn't capture without those people's memories.
Some of the goods that came into Liverpool required some pretty special handling, and Liverpool was a great port for importing bananas and other soft fruit, which of course needs to be very carefully ripened and stored. So we've got stories of guys who worked in banana warehouses, and they were quite often underground because the temperature had to be very tightly controlled. And they also used all manner of noxious chemicals to manage the ripening of the fruit.
He'd put them in that room, shut the doors, and he'd shoot gas into it, this gas that would ripen them quicker. So as we had one ripening, the top one, you'd be cutting them. So what you do, you used to take them off one, and put them on the other, and you used to have like a special curved knife, and you start cutting hands off.
But because it was underground, quite often people didn't know what was going on, so you had this hidden world underneath the waterfront streets of all manner of commodities and goods being stored and processed and ripened, and it was only the people who actually worked there that would know about this.
I think what's important about these research projects is that Liverpool, in that immediate sort of post-war era, did go into a, phenomenal decline. And, Liverpool in the 70s and 80s was, it was a challenging place. It was a challenging environment to exist within, to live within. And, it got beaten around quite a lot. So I think there's a certain sort of, there is a pride in a local pride in Liverpool. And I think these projects are really important because it reminds people about what Liverpool has contributed in a very significant international way, and we shouldn't really lose sight of that. You often hear Liverpool referred to as a village, and it's a very it has a great sense of sort of localism. So anything to do with Liverpool history is received incredibly well. So I imagine there'll be a huge lot of interest in it.